Well, did you see? I saw a tweet or post, whatever you want to call it, this morning about Uniswap being front run on a stablecoin pool. I guess an MEV kind of a thing where someone stole over 200 grand. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. I think was that what Carter shared this morning?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy being able to do that. I mean, being able to swap that much stables to empty a pair just to be able to capture, and then not on top of that, I think the attacker only took like $8,000. They tipped the block builder the rest of it like right around 200K, which is it's
Yeah, that's
crazy.
what I saw. And so do we assume that the validator, the block builder, the infrastructure provider was in on it and they colluded?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I almost liken this to like having a good dealer at a casino, right? It's like they happen to
Right.
give you a good hand, you tip them out really well. Not that, you don't know if they were building a deck for you, but yeah, I guess it's just one of those things running info that you're on public chains that you kind of have to deal with. Something that, luckily on Secret, we don't have to deal with any of these issues, which is really great. We don't have to worry about trying to democratize extracted value. We just don't have it extracted in the first place.
So you know what? Let's kick off the conversation. I mean, we might as well. For the people who aren't familiar with, so I've been a secret network token holder since it was Enigma, years ago, and I just love it. I think it's a really valuable chain, and it's interesting to see like Penumbra and I forget if Million is privacy based, but Namada, these other chains coming out. I would definitely be curious to hear your thoughts, but if you could certainly tell whoever's listening what Secret's all about, why Shade Protocol kicks ass, how you guys maybe are able to collaborate versus compete, with other projects in the ecosystem, et cetera. And I'll let you kind of go from there.
Yeah, for sure. So for just want to say thank you for having us on here.
Absolutely.
Kind of highlighting Shade today. For anyone who is listening to this live or later, my name's Red. One of the contributors to Shade Protocol. Shade is a set of DeFi applications that are all interconnected, that are built on top of Secret Network, which is it's a layer one Cosmos chain that is a smart contract platform that has secret smart contracts, or encrypted smart contracts. And the way Secret provides its privacy is that all of the validators on the network run these trusted execution environments, and when individuals are interacting with contracts, all this data about that interaction is encrypted, and that information is decrypted inside these trusted execution environments using the network's master key, and then there's an output produced that's re-encrypted, and then the state gets updated. So for Secret Network, the main value proposition is these encrypted smart contracts where you have your inputs, your outputs, and then the state of the actual smart contract is private. And the way this provides direct value to users is that things like token balances, transaction histories, allowances, things you might allow smart contracts or modules to do on your behalf, all of those things are kept encrypted. And so users don't have to worry about someone trying to track their wallet address if they might be a whale or if they hold particular tokens. They don't have to worry about someone copy trading them. They don't have to worry about being front run with swaps. I mentioned that very briefly at the beginning of this. They don't have to worry about being front run on swaps because the contents of their swap is all encrypted. You don't have to worry about people hunting liquidation price points. So if you're taking out leverage using a DeFi product, whether it's borrowing collateralized over collateralized stablecoins, or whether you're taking a long or short position on a money market, or you're interacting with a perps protocol, that liquidation price point is also kept encrypted. And so this directly provides value to users by preventing extraction of value. And so Shade is really all about leveraging this privacy, this data protection by default, in order to provide superior and more flexible user experiences within DeFi. We started building almost 3 years ago with this initial vision to build Silk, which is our over-collateralized, privacy-preserving stablecoin that's pegged to a basket of currencies and commodities. The original vision was, to build Silk, this, very unique and it's kind of a one of a kind sort of product, to be able to build this and drive this decentralized money narrative. This is, before Terra collapsed. And, as we continued building, we realized that there were these other primitives that fit really well, as far as like providing this extra functionality for our ecosystem. And there weren't really products that provided these comparable experiences in our local ecosystem. So, over the course of 2.5 years, we began building out all the core DeFi primitives that are required for a DeFi ecosystem to really thrive. We've got 6 different products under our belt now, which include Silk, this over-collateralized stablecoin that's pegged to a basket of currencies and commodities, and its associated lending market. We've got the largest liquid staking derivative for Secret, which is Stake Secret. We've got bonds products. We've got a spot market exchange. We've got ShadeX as well. And then we've got a whole bunch of utilities and services that kind of help users manage their positions and their encryption along the way. But where we're at now definitely looks completely different than where we originally envisioned ourselves being. But it's been a beautiful ride thus far.
Yeah, I've followed your guys' journey. I try to watch all your YouTube videos and give them the thumbs up. And I've followed Silk and love to see that thing come to life. I forget, is the main idea of Silk that it's going to outpace inflation, and so you'll do hopefully really well over time, or does it pay a current yield like Noble's new stablecoin, I believe, is set to do?
So Silk, the original goal of Silk, and there was a ton of work. I mean, months and months of back testing and experimenting with different combinations of components within the peg. And then, once we were able to get everything back tested and have these different potential weightings and components within the Silk peg, really we had to kind of sit down and think about, what are we really trying to do here, right? Do we want it to just ever so slightly outpace USDC or any of these sovereign currencies? Do we want it to behave more like a store of value? Do we want it to preserve purchasing power, which is it's similar to like offsetting inflation? And Silk's current goal is to preserve purchasing power better than any single sovereign currency out there. And it has accomplished this. It is continuing to accomplish this goal. I believe to date, it's outpaced USD's performance relative to other sovereign currencies by at least 15%. There's other major sovereign currency components in the peg, like the euro, the Canadian dollar, and the Japanese yen, and Silk has outperformed all of those as well. I don't have the actual numbers in front. It's been a month or so since I've calculated, but the main goal is to preserve purchasing power. So without actually doing anything with your Silk, literally just holding it, the goal is to preserve purchasing power better than any of these other sovereign stablecoins. Now, users can go and do whatever they want with their Silk, and that generates extra yield. I'm not, intimately familiar with USDN and its mechanics for rewarding their holders, but with all of these different DeFi building blocks that we've got, Silk has a plethora of utility locally where it will retain its native privacy. And Silk will inevitably go omni-chain, multiple chains. It will end up losing its privacy unless it's on a privacy preserving layer 1 or layer 2 somewhere. But for example, like if Silk goes to Osmosis or Silk goes to Neutron, it's no longer a private asset. It's a public asset because it's on a public chain.
Interesting. I guess two thoughts come to mind. I guess free plug for Real Vision and Raoul Pal. I don't know if anyone on the call is familiar with Real Vision, but they publish some phenomenal free crypto content. And one of the things that they publish is this concept called the everything code. And it's where crypto is tied to liquidity, and global liquidity gets debased at around 8% per year, plus 4% average inflation for 12% break even on investments. So if you're not making at least 12% on your investments, you're losing purchasing power over time. So to hear that Silk is 3% ahead of that at 15% with, super reasonable risk, I think is amazing. And I think that you guys should be super proud of that.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's really been, it's one thing to actually see it perform in the wild, to see the peg continue to appreciate relative to these sovereign currencies, but also seeing, market participants helping keep that market rate close to peg, because the peg is floating, there will inevitably be opportunities for people to, act on arbitrage moments. And so it's also been really great to see our market participants really enjoy some of these earning opportunities with just simply borrowing Silk. There's way more earning opportunities just than with borrowing Silk. But yeah, just wanted to add that.
No, I love it. Have you guys seen, are you able to pay attention on chain and see how much Silk leaves secret and goes to other dexes and other ecosystems?
Yeah, that's actually quite easy to do. One, there's only so many, just because of some of the nuances with IBC channels. Oftentimes, Shade or Secret folks are involved with making sure that these assets can be bridged over channels. So, like, we know which channels, for the most part, Silk would be bridged over, and then, like I mentioned, these. The supplies of these IBC tokens on these other chains are public, so it's very easy for us to query that. And then just, it's, if we wanted to calculate something like what percent of Silk is outside of Secret Network, it would just take the total supply, or take the amount that's on other chains divided by the total supply. It would be a relatively easy thing to look at, but I would say 98% or so is on Secret Network right now.
Well, I mean, the idea, I guess, is to preserve privacy, and so if people care about that, I think they're going to leave it on secret and on Shade. And I've had a chance to play around with Shade. Since the Shade tokens were airdropped to me as an Atom staker a long time ago, they've been staked on the protocol, and I've been able to play with the bonds and mint some Silk and lend it back, and I've lent some Atom back, got the X Atom, staked the X Atom, so I'm earning Shade, and it's fun, and it is nice to see that the protocol's come a long way, like you said, in the last couple of years. Are you able to share any future like guidance direction? What do you see that is coming for you guys?
Well, I will say that with the money market officially being on mainnet, the Shade protocol suite it feels much more complete. And that's not to say that we're not going to continue building or focusing on improving the suite, but as far as the main user stories, the main product market fit items have been added to the suite, right? And so now a lot of what we're focused on doing is optimizing the interactions between this. We want people to be able to take out more leverage. We want people to be able to earn more yield. We want people to be able to do things in a more smooth way, like being able to potentially improve the UI UX surrounding this. But I guess when I think about like what are we really going to be focused on next? I guess from a business standpoint, one of the main things we're going to be focused on is distribution, and this kind of goes back to, like I mentioned, the Shade suite feels much more complete, where if a DeFi user were to come into our ecosystem, we can service any of the potential item or any of the things that they want to accomplish. We can do that. And we can do it with really good UI UX. And it feels like it's been so long since it happened, but I think it's been less than 6 months. But the switch from using viewing keys to allow people to encrypt or decrypt their encrypted data to using query permits was a massive upgrade in the UI UX. For anybody interacting with the Shade apps, for anyone who hasn't interacted with the Shade apps, basically what this change did is viewing keys, you had to create an individual key, which allowed you to decrypt things like your token balances and your transaction history for a token. You had to create a key for every single asset or position that you were taking on Secret. And now
Over and over again, right?
Yep, and it cost Secret to actually create this. So you had to have gas on the network. Now we use a type of decryption tool called query permits, which don't cost any gas, so you don't need Secret. And we can allow users to decrypt token data for up to 32 tokens. Eventually, we're going to be working towards getting it to where we only need one permit for everything. But as of right now, you can decrypt up to 32 tokens with a single permit. It doesn't cost any gas. So I think for the majority of user stories, it would be like 2 or 3 permits that you would need. Cost no gas. It takes 2 seconds to create. And I feel like we've done a really good job of making these to making it evident when you need to do these things, when you don't, where you can go to fix some of these things. So this is a really long explanation for basically saying like we have built up all the user stories and the UI UX to the point where it really is about distribution, getting this app in the hands of as many people as possible.
Oh, if I'm a user and I jump onto the platform wanting to contribute to the money market or lend, I guess, into that private money market, into ShadeX, where do I go on the platform and where do I navigate to in the toolbar?
So let's say I'll assume that a user has found out about Shade and they don't have assets on Secret, right? So if you have assets in the Cosmos, pretty much all of the major chains, all of the major DeFi hubs, so to speak, are connected to Secret. So what a user would do would go to app.shadeprotocol.io / bridge, and they would choose to bridge in their asset from whatever chain they're on to Secret. When they do that, that asset is automatically wrapped into its private version. So it gets wrapped in this smart contract. The smart contract is what actually provides the privacy for these IBC tokens that come in. Because if not, it'll just show up as a public IBC token on Secret. So they're wrapped in this smart contract. And you will be prompted to create a key for this. And even if you don't create the key, then you could just go to your portfolio page and click view balance next to the asset. It'll create your permit for you. So the first part is bridge in your assets. And then depending on what you want to do, all of the user stories are all available in one place, which is honestly an incredible quality of life feature for users. As a power user myself, especially, maybe a little bit less now, but used to be very much a power user in a bunch of the different DeFi hubs in the Cosmos. And it was a pain in the ass to try and find all of these different applications that I might want to use within on this chain or within this network of applications. And so with Shade, whether you want to swap on Shade Swap, whether you want to provide liquidity on Shade Swap, whether you want to borrow Silk, whether you want to lend assets on ShadeX or borrow assets on ShadeX, all of those options are going to be on the left-hand side of the app. And it's just simply click on that, click on the place you want to interact with, and all of those opportunities are available. So for ShadeX, let's say someone wants to, let's say they have like Wrapped Bitcoin Axelar or Wrapped ETH bridged via Axelar. You'd simply bridge those assets to Secret Network, and then you would go to the lend tab. You would find which vault you're looking to lend in. So for Bitcoin, you just click on the Wrapped Bitcoin Axelar, type in how much of the asset you want to lend, and click lend. It's super simple. And then after that, for lending in particular, you'll be prompted to either simply mint out the X tokens, which X tokens are it is a yield bearing version of your lent asset that auto compounds. So when you lend assets, you earn interest from people borrowing that, and that interest is compounded. And so when you lend, if you were to lend out wrapped Bitcoin bridge via Axelar, you would receive X wrapped Bitcoin Axelar, and that effectively represents your yield bearing version of your lent asset. And then you can either stake those to earn supply rewards, which is just a way to help incentivize people kind of locking up those assets. There's no unbond time. This is an extra way to incentivize lenders. So you can either stake them, or you can just mint out the yield bearing version of your lent asset. And then there's other stuff you can do with that, but I'll stop here just in case there's like a particular use case you wanted me to highlight. Or
Well, yeah. So this morning, as a matter of fact, I bridged over some Atom, and then I lent the Atom to the protocol, and I received X Atom in return. I guess is my receipt, right? And that X Atom is my yield bearing derivative. Is that correct?
Yep, that is correct.
Okay.
So that represents your lent Atom.
Okay. And then I went ahead and staked the X Atom back on the protocol so I could earn some additional yield, and I'll earn shade tokens for doing that. That's right.
Yep, that is correct. And the whole time we had this question initially pop up. When you're staking those tokens, you are still earning interest on that lent position. You're not giving up any yield in the form of interest by staking those. So you are earning interest, and you're correct. You're also earning the shade rewards that are being emitted to that X token staking
Yeah.
contract.
And I don't remember, Red, if it was you or if it was Carter or who replied to me. So when I jumped on, I'm like, okay, well, I don't see Shade X anywhere. So what is Shade X? Is that the lend? It doesn't say money market anywhere. And so that's why I wanted to go over, the process with you, is so everybody listening knows that lend and borrow is Shade X. But I wish there
Yep.
was some sort of a little icon, just since you guys are promoting Shade X, so I know, when I get there, oh, that's Shade X, the lend and the borrow.
Oh, I like that. Like we have a little, these little glowing purple orbs
I
next to
see
the
him.
lend and
Yeah,
borrow.
I'm on the
It would
platform
be
right now.
very
Yeah.
cool. It would be very cool if we had an X next to that instead of the orb.
Something like that. Yeah.
I mean, maybe, well, it maybe indicate that this is Shade X, but I totally understand what you're talking about. Shade X is our encrypted money market. So that encompasses both lending and borrowing. The reason we currently have it distinctly differed on the UI is so it's easier for people to understand, especially for a lot of people who have never used money markets before. We wanted to try and make this as simple as possible so people understand, like, this is where I go if I want to lend. This is where I go if I want to borrow. And so for now, yeah, the lend and the borrow both are Shade X. Shade X is the money market.
Nice. We run a validator for Osmosis, and we are a governor for Stride, and we hope to get into the active Atom set soon and spin something up for Ellis and support them. For people who are technically inclined on the call, which I am not. I'm a traditional finance guy, former CFP, fell in love with gold and silver and then crypto, and kind of came over. And so my partner Eric is the guy who runs all the tech, and I'm the 5-year-old who he drags along, and I'm learning along the way. I do recall back in the day when we wanted to run the validator for Secret, it was a bit more complicated than traditional SDK chains. Are you able to comment on that? Do you know anything about that at all?
I don't, but there is someone in the audience who, if he wants to come up, he's more than welcome to talk about how running a validator on Secret differs. I see Mo is down there. Mo handles a whole bunch of the infra stuff for Shade. So if he wants to hop up here, more than welcome to. But I will say the biggest difference between running a validator for Secret and running one for some of these other Cosmos SDK chains is that validators are required to use hardware that has trusted execution environments, and there's certain versions of specifically we use Secret uses SGX, and so there are particular lines of SGX hardware that are preferred or whitelisted for use as validators. Carter, just hopped up here. He probably has a little bit more nuance on the network
Yeah,
side of stuff.
Mo Carter, feel free to jump in if you have anything to add.
Yeah, howdy guys. Sorry, it was wrapping up another call. Busy day, busy day. No, it's been Secret Network node running is definitely more hardware intensive, and I think even like the config files are more complicated and generally speaking, I think like a lot of these Cosmos SDK chains, node runners, it's pretty easy to kind of like just migrate your infra over, a little bit of copy paste vibes. Like there's of course still some unique things, but Secret Network is like quirky in that sense. Like it takes some hard work to get everything set up. So it'd be cool if Mohammed, if he came up here and talked about the actual granular details. But Red is correct.
I think he's still a listener, but did send an invite. So Mo, if you feel like jumping in, let me know. Um, with other privacy chains, coming to light, like Namada and Penumbra, is it possible for Shade? Go ahead, Mo.
No, I just wanted to add, like, I was hearing a conversation with like Secret Network and SGX hardware requirements, right? And just to say, like, mirroring what Carter said, like, there's like a bunch of like additional hardware requirements that you have to meet, and as SGX is supported only via Intel, so you need to really like, it's all TE, right? But like Intel has their own execution environment, and there's only certain chips in the infrastructure lineup that support this. So you need to have a particular Intel chip, which usually comes now with new support. It's only Gen 3 plus Xeon lineups, and then it's usually server grade hardware. So you need to like, secure that hardware, set it up, make sure it's configurable, because SGX has some requirements for configuration. You set that up, and then you get to enable that to the software level, and then that is how Secret Network communicates with the hardware enclaves, right? So you need to have this set up, a little bit of a DevOps like integration you need to focus on there. But like once you get it rolling and set up, then it's pretty straightforward. It's really just maintaining this, takes a little bit extra work, and obviously this adds a little additional cost as well, to get all this set up plus maintain this particular hardware. So as long as everybody's aware of that, like it's pretty straightforward and streamlined from there. I think a lot of the community has done a lot of work in making sure that we get the best specs out there, the best steps out there. So if you hop into the documentation on Secret Network, you can set up. There is some caveats for a new person to set it up, but if you have a little DevOps experience yourself, then I think anyone can really get on board with this. Really, challenges come when you want to scale up, and that's what I think Secret Network has been trying to achieve. And there's been a lot of network upgrades over the last year, and I know some coming over this year as well. That's going to help with this. Really to bring scale to like the amount of transactions that can go through, right? Because the enclave sizes are small, and private computation is expensive, generally speaking, in the whole space. So yeah, those things are things that are just being worked on, tweaked on, but outside of this additional overtake, everything else is just Cosmos related. How networks work, how the network is bootstrapped, all that is like pretty straightforward and streamlined at this point in time. But yeah, hopefully that gives a little overview of like the Secret Network, and how to get Secret Network rolling on chain basically.
Nice. I'm a huge fan and have been for a long time. So one of the things that I see as a DeFi user is DEXs. Over time, they integrate with more and more chains, so you can bring assets in and mess around. Does Shade have plans, or is it conceivable that Shade would be integrated with Penumbra and Namada, and so shielded assets could move from chain to chain to chain seamlessly, and it's more partnership versus competition?
I think that's definitely something we have goals to work towards. We believe that more people building privacy preserving DeFi applications in general is good overall. Technically, yeah, they're competitors, but at the same time, I think there's way more for us to gain by working collaboratively than by trying to work against each other, so to speak. And so, yeah, we would love to be connected to Penumbra and Namada and really all the other privacy projects in the Cosmos ecosystem. It's, there's other ones out there like NIM, like you said, Nillion, DVPN. Jackal. There's more people now, especially than previously, building privacy focused applications. And so, yeah, making sure that we connect, the financial opportunity, the privacy preserving financial opportunities that Shade Protocol provides with the users of some of these other products, whether it be DeFi focused or not. That's definitely something we're wanting to strive towards.
So if anyone from any of those projects are listening, please reach out to Rhett and to Carter. So I'm curious, if I understand you correctly, if you guys were to integrate with DVPN or with Jackal, does that just mean that my payment to DVPN or my payment to Jackal for storage and hosting is private and shielded, or how exactly, what does that look like?
So I guess it depends on what type of integration we're talking about, right? So when I think about it, the simplest thing we can do is make sure if they're a layer one chain, make sure Secret is connected to that chain, and make sure that Shade Protocol supports whatever their layer one coin is on ShadeSwap. And this is valuable for a few reasons. As an example, like if I wanted to use DVPN, right? But I wanted to make sure I acquired that DVPN from a place that protected my privacy as a potential user of DVPN, right? You could acquire that on ShadeSwap without having the amount that you actually acquired be known. And then as you need to pay for the VPN, you can IBC those tokens from Secret to DVPN, pay for your service, and have that be that. Same thing for Jackal, right? If I want to pay for storage, but I don't want to actually make public how much Jackal I actually own or which wallets I use for payments or anything, I can create anonymous wallets on Secret to then fund other wallets that pay for this service without having any connection to potentially my wallet. So this is beneficial for businesses that are using these applications for some sort of service, or users in general that want to make sure that their anonymity and privacy is as protected as possible when using these services. So that's like the most base level integration that I could think of. You could have something, some of the other ones would be a little bit more speculative, right? Like there's a use case for some of these layer one coins as they, are used to pay for a service, and we don't expect our tokens to be used otherwise. But there's other unique things that could happen there. But the integration and making sure that there are tokens and anyone using it and those services can start a wallet privately and kind of keep their anonymity there is definitely valuable in itself.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I've noticed, I think I came into Cosmos maybe about 4 years ago, and I have definitely seen the entire interchain go from a competitive kind of landscape to much more collaborative. And I just think it's amazing. I really think that Cosmos is the absolute best place to be. I think Cosmos has the best user experience in all of crypto. We run infra for a few different ecosystems, and I'm always blown away by how much better the Cosmos experience is, and certainly Shade is easy to use. I don't want to run too long, you guys. I know your time is valuable. Can you comment on the Shade token tokenomics and staking for the people who are listening, who like to earn some simple yield versus LPing and doing the more complex stuff?
Yeah, it's just to be clear, you're talking about Shade staking specifically?
Yes, staking Shade tokens.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure we've got staking opportunities all over the place for different tokens. So depending on which token you're talking about, the explanation might be a little different.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious, what are the tokenomics of the Shade token? What is it good for? Obviously, governance and all that stuff. And then, yeah, what might someone, what is the yield? What can I expect to earn if I'm depositing and staking that Shade token?
Yeah, not a problem. So a little more than a year ago, if I'm not mistaken. Well, I'm blanking on when we launched staking because we've launched so many products now that some of these timelines are a little off in my head.
Okay.
But basically,
yeah, I get it.
Very early on into the launch of staking, Shade Protocol made a switch to basically not use an initial allocation of shade rewards set aside for 10-year emissions to shade stakers, and instead only emit real yield to stakers. So this does two things. One, this helps kind of prevent the extra emissions of what was, I think, 1.2 or so million shade set aside for shade emissions. But this also helps drive this narrative that shade is really about sustainability and the power of this interconnected DeFi ecosystem. So I think right now there's 10 to 12 different revenue streams that the shade DeFi suite has. It comes from swap fees on shade swap. We've got mint withdrawal fees for our liquid staking derivatives. We've got interest payments on Silk. We've got liquidation fees for Silk on Shade Lend. We've got interest payments on the money market. We've got protocol liquidation takes for liquidations, public liquidation takes. And so there's all these different fee streams that are accruing to the protocol. And what the protocol does is it takes all of the shade that is generated and assets that are not being held to build up protocol owned liquidity. There's just a few core assets that the protocol currently holds on to and uses to provide liquidity on ShadeSwap in order to better increase our efficiency and amount of leverage we allow within the system. But all these other assets get sold back for shade, and then that shade is then emitted to stakers. So there's never been a constant emissions rate for shade stakers. The yield that goes to shade stakers is very dependent on the amount of activity within the actual ecosystem. So for weeks where the protocol is earning tens of thousands of dollars, we've seen staking APY, even with millions of shade staked, we've seen staking APY go up as high as, I believe, 20% or higher.
Nice.
And
is there max supply of shade tokens?
Yes, there's a 10 million shade is the max supply.
Gotcha.
And shade is non-inflationary. So any of the yield that is going to stakers of shade is coming from the revenue that is being generated within the application. And I just want to add that for the assets that are not being sold back for shade and are being deployed as protocol owned liquidity, this helps us twofold. One, there's less shade emissions that are required to bring in an amount of liquidity that is enough to be able to facilitate the demand and trading depth that people want on ShadeSwap. But two, it also helps increase the fee streams for the protocol. As liquidity goes up, even if it's just via arbitrage activity, the protocol is earning more and more fees. And obviously there's more than just arbitrage activity within the Shade apps. There's organic use and demand. And so all of these things increase the amount of fee streams that ultimately increase the protocol's TVL and yield going back to its stakeholders.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to hear that protocol owned liquidity is part of the strategy because, as we all know, LPers can be fickle and they move around, and obviously to be able to curb emissions to LPers and to feed that back into the protocol and then to stakers and everything, I think is amazing. Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
And I just want to add, it is almost something that is required by the protocol because it does not have inflation like these layer one chains do. We don't have this guarantee for this, future stream of additional tokens that can be allocated for something, right? We have to be really judicious with our deployment of these emissions, whether it be for LP rewards or for stability pool depositors, which I don't even think we touched on that, but or borrowers and lenders on Shade X. We have to very carefully take into account, like, what is the value of these emissions? What are we earning from this? And what we do earn from this, how are we deploying it? So take all that into account.
So I got to be honest, I don't know much about the governance process and participation and everything. I think about how active Osmosis is. It seems like there's proposals every other day, and Cosmos Hub is certainly active as well. For the Shade token holders, has there been much activity on governance, and have there been things where they can kind of direct the future of the protocol, or have we yet to kind of see that stuff?
We haven't seen any of that in a formal way. Shade Protocol currently doesn't have any sort of governance live. We have helped co-sponsor funding for DAO deployment on the secret network. And that development is effectively kind of on the last stages, although it has somewhat stalled in the past months due to a variety of other reasons. But as of late, there's no active governance for Shade. That being said, we take feedback from the community extremely seriously. And we try to publicize all of the decision making, the methodologies for making decisions, whether it be for emissions, the updates to the various applications, do our best publicizing all of these things, whether it be on the docs, on the forums, on Twitter, in our Telegram groups, to make sure that people are very aware of not only the actions being taken, but the reasoning behind it. And we also take into account any feedback that we receive from users in regards to, the implementation of some of this stuff.
To the end, is there anyone who is currently tagged as a listener who has any sort of questions or wants to say anything? And I understand it can be intimidating to jump out there and to unmute. So I get that.
If no one wants to come up, it's all good. We love having people come up and ask questions. Our Telegram is generally super active with people asking questions, and we've got a phenomenal community. So if anyone doesn't want to come up and speak, I highly suggest click on the Shade Protocol Twitter profile, join our Telegram group, and feel free to ask away there. I would go as far as to say there are hundreds of people who would literally be happy to help answer your question.
So yeah, one of the things, even though you guys are anonymous and privacy based and everything, I do see Shade Protocol constantly out there, and I think that you guys do a really great job staying involved with the community and on socials and everything. And so I appreciate it, and I would assume that other people do as well. Well, cool.
There's definitely been an appetite, and if Carter is able to hop back on, I'm sure you could eloquently describe this a little bit better than me, but there has been a real appetite, not only from users, but also other protocols to collaborate with Shade and better integrate with our product suite, because not only the builders of these other applications recognize the value that privacy provides for themselves as a business or as users, contributors to these protocols, but also there is serious organic demand for our products. Like Stride is the largest liquid staking derivative provider in the cosmos, and the Shade apps are where ST Atom finds the most usage. There's more TVL for ST Atom in our leverage products than any other leverage products out there. We've got the best yields for a lot of products out there. So depending on what you're looking to do, ShadeX really is kind of forced into this conversation about where liquidity and users are best kind of focused. And it's been a pleasure working with these various layer ones and applications across the cosmos. We've maintained really great relationships with a lot of people. Sometimes we might be a little bit too neutral, but this has helped us out in the long run with being able to maintain really positive relationships with users and protocols and builders across the cosmos.
No, I completely understand that. Well, it's super good to connect with you guys, and I appreciate you joining us. And then I guess a little shameless self-promotion before we leave. We currently run infrastructure for 13 different blockchains, I think. And we're trying to get into the active set of the Cosmos Hub Atom validators. And we're currently offering a promo where we will do monthly Atom rebate airdrops for up to 5 years. And you can win an inscription. And then the wallet that has that inscription can get some boosted yield for a long time, which we think is really cool. And I'll post a link to that either in the chat or maybe below the recording. And then I think that's it, man. It's I guess it's Thursday. I hope you guys have an amazing Thursday, Friday, and weekend, and I hope to connect with you again soon.
Yep. And we just want to, again, reiterate how thankful we are for you allowing us to come on here and talk to listeners about ShadeX and the Shade applications in general. For anyone who's listening who wants to try out the product suite, go to app.shadeprotocol.io and you'll find all of our applications there. If you have any questions or you want to learn more, click on the Shade profile. That's a speaker here. Make sure to follow there for announcements. Join our Telegram. We've got an incredible community that's very active, and yeah, hope you all try out the Shade apps.
Right on, Red. Mo, Carter, thank you guys. Have a great day. We'll chat soon. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Peace.